All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for watching my video. My name is Noemi Flores, and today I'm going to be showing you something that is usually blows people's mind when they first start using Jira, and it's the idea of having default text populate when you create an issue. So normally, something like this might be a ticket you submit to IT. But with Jira Automation, you can actually do this on your own if you are an admin for your project. And let me show you how. So what I have here is a ticket. And in this ticket, I have a description. Please summarize the problem. I have some instructional text and then steps to reproduce. It's not super complicated, but it's something that I want in every time I create my ticket. Now, most teams, what they will do is they'll create a ticket like this, and then they'll tell people to go and clone the ticket every time they want to recreate it with this text in there. And that is perfectly fine. But we could actually simplify that and remove some of the clutter in your tooling by using automation. So instead of just having default ticket templates floating around your project, you can actually just schedule it to happen when you create it. So let's look into that. So what we want to do is when we create an issue, we want the description to always have this text in here. So the best way that I do it is I usually just copy the text. So once I open it up in edit mode, I go ahead and I copy the text, and then I close it. And then from here, I go into automation. So if I open up on the side in the main menu and I scroll down to the bottom and hit project settings, I'm now in the admin section of my project, and I'm going to click on automation. Once I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a rule. So I click create rule button up in the corner, and the first thing that comes up when I create a rule is what is the trigger. So it needs to know what's going to kick this rule off. And there are different triggers that you can have. But what we want to do is we want this to happen when an issue is created. So right here in this panel, in the add triggers, you can scroll down and you can see all the different issue triggers. I know that what I want is issue created. Right? So you don't have to have them memorized, but if you start doing this, you're going to memorize the names of these, and so you'll start being able to type it on your own. So once I have that, I come down and I see issue created right here. Once I click on it, this means that every time an issue is created, this rule will run. So the next thing I need to do is add action. So once I click on add component, it says, cool, what kind of component do you want to add? Do you want to add an action? Do you want to add a condition? Or do you want to add a branch? This is a very simple rule, so we really just need an action. So right here in our action section, you can see we have different actions available to us. And what we want to do is we want to edit the issue. So I can click on this edit issue action, and it pops up with the configuration panel. Now I need to tell it what I want it to edit on my issue. And so by default, it likes to pop up this choose fields to set drop-down list. And this is exactly what we want. So even if it doesn't pop up, you can actually just click this and you'll find the list. So the common fields are usually at the top, and ours just happens to be here in the top. If it wasn't in the top, we could certainly scroll down or we could type it. This is not necessarily limited to just system fields. Your custom fields should be available too, although there are some caveats to different types of custom fields that can be used. So once we click in there, now it says, cool, here's the description field. What do you want to set? Now remember, I just copied my description from the template issue. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click in here and I'm going to paste it. And when I paste it, you can see it does not look like what I want it to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to reduce some of the spacing, and I need these to be numbered bullets, and I would like these to be bolded sections. So in order to do that, I have to use some markup text. And I don't have it memorized, so I always go to the notational help provided by Atlassian, which I have right here. So this is a page that I'm including in the description of this video, so you have a quick link to it. But this is fantastic. It helps you understand how you need to structure your text so that when the automation runs, it will format the way you want it to. And I've already got it listed, set to my list so that I can see what I need. Here on the side, it's really nice because they give you the examples. And so I just scroll down and I look for the example that looks like what I want to do. So here I have this numbered list, 1, 2, 3. This is exactly what I want. So now I need to figure out how to make that happen. If I come here, I can see, oh, I need a pound sign, a space, and then the item. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go back to my rule builder and I'm going to make this a pound sign and a space. I don't want any space, so I'm just going to remove that break, and now I have what I need for my steps. The next thing I want to do is I want to make this and this bold. So I'm going to come back to here, and then I'm going to go to my text effects. So there's a couple of things. I want them bold. I don't necessarily need them to be header text types, which are big and bold by default. I don't want to have all that space taken up in my description, so I just really want bold. And so right here, the very first option shows me how to make a text bold. And I do that by putting asterisks right by the word. And as you can see, you need to pay attention to how it's formatted, because here you see there's no spaces, and in the list there was a space. Those actually matter. So if there's no space, make sure you don't have a space in yours. So I'm going to click in here, and now I'm going to go back to this title, and I want it to be bolded. So I'm going to remove all my spaces and put my asterisks right here. Okay. And so now I have everything the way I want it. I don't necessarily need to change anything about this description text. I could maybe make it italics if I felt like it, but I think I'm good for here. Now, something to note, in this more options right here, if I hit this, there is an option that says send an email when this rule runs. Now I don't want that because I don't want to create unnecessary noise. I just want this to populate when I create my items. So I'm going to uncheck this. In fact, I often uncheck this when I run automations because I want it to be seamless and I don't want to create a lot of noise. I like to save my emails and my notifications as much as possible to be meaningful to the person receiving them. So I uncheck that, and now that's all I need. I'm going to go ahead and turn the rule on, and when I do that, it's going to ask me for a rule name. So I like to create my rule names to be very descriptive of what the rule is about. So this particular name is going to be update description on issue creation, and then I'll turn the rule on. Now, once this finishes processing, the rule will be on and it will be triggered as soon as I create items in my project. And while this thing is creating, I'm just going to show you right here in the rule details section. You actually can go ahead and add more information about your rules. So like I mentioned earlier, you want to make your rules descriptive at the name itself, and then as your rules get more complicated, you want to add additional description about what the rule is doing in the description section, because I guarantee you will forget what you did when you originally created the rule, and sometimes when you read the rules themselves, you sometimes forget exactly why you made the decisions you made. So I find it best to make sure you document that description. Plus, it just helps anybody who comes in later and wants to understand what these rules are, because maybe they need to update it because you're out of town or on vacation or something like that. So now I have this rule enabled, and now let me go back to my project, and I am going to create a new item. So here I have my task, my new task, and I'm just going to click create. And once I click create, you can see it's created my issue, and now my rule should be running. So when I open up this item, boom, right there in my description, I have my summary statement exactly how I wanted. If it didn't work out and something was incorrect, like maybe I don't like this being directly under description, maybe I wanted to add a line break, I could always go back to my rule and edit it and make that change. So just so that you can see how that works, let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead, go back to my project settings, close this window, go back to project settings, back into automation. And in this rule, I'm going to go back to my edit, and I'm just going to hit a couple of spaces in here. Maybe I'll put in a line just so that it looks cute. Copy that. All right. I'm going to make it just look a little bit more official. All right, now I've done that. I'm going to hit update, and I'll test it one more time by going back to my project. I don't necessarily need to go back. I can use the create button at the top at any point. I just like to go back because it makes me feel like I'm going through the steps as a normal person would when they were interacting with my project. So now I'm in the create screen. I'm going to do my new task again, my second attempt, and hit create. And now it's going to create my new task, open that up, and my changes are there. So you can go back and update this at any point in time you feel like it. You can modify these along the way. You can even add different things, like maybe I want the reporter to be the assignee by default. I can certainly go in and update my rules to do that if I so choose. One caveat to this is that if I create something, the rule's going to run as it's creating it, right? So the rule creates the issue. I hit create, it makes my issue, and then the rule runs right after that after it's been created. What that means, and we have run into this in the past, is if I create something, so my test, and I put something in here, I'm just going to type whatever I want, put something in the description, when I hit create, guess what's going to happen? It's going to create my issue, and when I open it, it's going to have my default text, and it's going to erase what I originally put in there. So for some people, this is okay because they want it to be filled out a certain way. For others, this can be troublesome. So you might not want to do that. If you want to prevent that from happening, go back to your rule, and in the rule itself, you might want to add a little bit of a test. So right now it's saying an issue gets created and then do some things. What I want to do is I want to make sure that it meets a certain condition, and that condition is that the description is empty. So I'm going to click on if a condition. In here I'm going to choose issue fields condition, and I'm going to click the top and look for description. And then I'm going to say is not empty, or is empty. I'm going to say is empty. And now what this is doing is it's going to say, once an issue is created, check to see if there's any text in there. If there is no text in there, then update the description. So now when I click update, go back to my project, click create, and I'm going to say my modified task. Now when I put in my description, what's going to happen? I'm going to click create. It will create my issue. Now when I open it up, it has just my description and it does not overwrite it. So that is definitely an option for you if you do run into that issue. You can get more advanced with your requirements and make it even more sophisticated, but for many teams this is a great first start. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you like this content, please send me your ideas. I'm always looking for new things to experiment with and try, and of course, as usual, please like and subscribe or share it with somebody who might need this information. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.